Hi, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday. This is Secular Soapbox Day. Um, we've got a couple of good guests for you today and sort of a relaxing topic today. Something I think, I don't think everybody is familiar with this one. We're going to talk about what life is like after religion. So, like and subscribe right now, and I will see you on the other side of our intro.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Hey, I am joined by somebody I've never seen before on screen, Aunt Kathy. Welcome
Hi.
to Secular Soapbox.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And we know you as Oz's aunt, right?
That's right.
So I'll have you say something about that in 1 second. And also is Shane Bilowitz, a familiar name and face. Welcome to the zone here.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing today?
I'm doing great, thanks.
That's a pretty neat setup you got there, Shane.
Oh.
I don't think I've seen that before.
Thanks. Yeah, I just put the new soundproofing in recently.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing. He's got red and black. So I'm curious, kind of referring to his red and black, because the first thing came to my mind was the question is like, why? Why did you pick those colors? So why did you pick purple and black?
I liked purple. I don't know. I ordered it off of Amazon and I saw there was either purple, red, or blue, and just personal preference, I guess. I like purple.
That's cool. I remember looking at one of those, what's your favorite color tests, and if you picked purple, it meant creativity. So how can that be a bad thing?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And then you're sitting there with all these instruments around you, so that's like a perfect a perfect match.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So Kathy, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're new to me, other than hearing your voice and seeing you in chat. So before we sort of really get into stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, what you're up to.
Well, I got the name Aunt Kathy directly from Oz because he's my nephew. He's my oldest firstborn nephew, so I tease him about that. He wants me to claim him as my favorite, and I do have one other, so I can't do that. And I have to say that Oz is the one who has been the most influential in my deconversion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had been going through the process of it, not realizing that's what it was called. I just knew for a few years I'd been asking myself a lot of questions. I was a Christian for 50 years. 35 of those years I was active in ministry of some type, from being a pastor's wife to being involved in parachurch ministries and on boards, teaching Bible classes, women's groups, just all kinds of stuff. And through death of several people within a short period of time, the questions began mounting on why prayers weren't answered and why circumstances were happening. And again, prayers weren't answered. And then behind the scenes things that happened that I was aware of in some different church settings. And I never got my degree, but I did attend Pacific Christian University via satellite. And
Wow.
I do have lots of hours of study, but I just never really honed it in on a specific area from there. And I've lived in 9 different states. Every state I did some kind of schooling, usually Bible schooling within the local church that I was a part of, which was the similar to what Oz talks about, and being the I call it the crazy charismatic background. Is what I came out of.
That's a pretty extensive background.
Well, I've been around a lot.
Yeah.
And
Well, what age do you roughly? I'm sorry to ask, but I want to get the audience, everybody's kind of story, just to sort of reference where we're starting. So, roughly, what age did you consider yourself out of the religion? Approximately.
I've been out about, I would say, 100% out for a year. I'm 69. I'm not, I don't have any vanity except for my hair. Don't like the gray yet, but I'm 69. I was 16 when I got saved. Well, just for me, it looked great on you, Phil. I don't like it on me, so go
when
for
it starts. When it starts when you're 16, you kind of get used to it.
Oh, I've been getting a lot in my beard lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens sometimes sooner than it does on the head or the chest or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was 16, went and got saved during the Jesus People movement, and have a lot in common with our good friend Dave Warnock in some of that stuff. And then it's taken me about 6 years of deconstruction, but I can say in the last year I've totally been free of it all.
Oh, there's that 5-year reference I always throw out, 3 to 5 years, and everybody seems to fall pretty close to that. So Shane, how about you? What age roughly did you find yourself on the other side of the fence?
I would say I would probably 21 or 22 is when I was, actually considering myself not, well, yeah, I'd say 21 was probably when I was considering myself an atheist and completely out of the religion. I'm 36 now, so it was 15 years ago. But yeah, kind of like you said, there is a big deconstruction process. For me, there was two different things. There was deconversion and deconstruction, and intellectually, that came first, and then I had to let go of a lot of the things that were indoctrinated in me, and different thoughts and beliefs and feelings I had that I was slowly realizing it was all based on my religious beliefs, and I was kind of like an onion, peeling them apart one by one.
So I'm giving away everybody's age roughly today. So about how many years ago?
How old are you, Phil?
I'll give my story in a second. I'm 63.
Okay.
But I'll give you my story in a second.
Oh, cool.
So just roughly how many years ago was that for you?
Oh, that was, well, I'm 36, so that was 15 years ago.
Okay. So for me, I grew up Catholic and was, I don't remember honestly being a strong believer. It's just like Catholics go to church because that's what you do when your parents go take you to church, kind of a thing. And it started to not make sense to me. I started to notice that it didn't make sense when I was a late teen. So I stopped going. I didn't go through a deconversion process per se, because I really wasn't paying much attention to it, but it just sort of slowly rolled and gathered more, I don't know, material all by itself. And eventually I realized that this God belief or this God practice or habit, whichever, was not something that seemed to make sense. And a lot of people were saying stuff that didn't make sense. So I kind of became a critic of God belief. Gosh, probably over 20 years. It was that long. And realized that I was starting to criticize things and people. And I decided that I better go get some information. So I read the Bible. And that sealed it. That was, oh yeah, this
That'll
is not
do it.
real. This is not real.
That'll do it.
So, and that was probably somewhere around 50, and now I'm 63.
yeah. Okay.
So this is our baseline. This is our baseline. So because for us all three, and which is very common, I honestly I am not aware of a person who just sort of came to an aha moment kind of thing. Although there are probably aha triggers, especially watching somebody as convincing as like Matt Dillahunty or some of these people.
Oh, sure.
But what, Kathy? Let me ask you first. What can you remember that was one of your earliest memories of how things were different now for you, good and bad?
The biggest difference for me, and I'm still working on it, is that I can now make my own decisions without having to go before the Lord in prayer and fasting and reading the Bible and searching things out. And that was difficult at first. It was very difficult to be in a place where I had to recognize that I was totally responsible for myself and for every decision I made, and I couldn't put it off on God. God said to do this, or God directed me to do that, and if it didn't work, well, then that's because the devil got in there and messed me up.
Did you see that as a freedom or a burden, or?
I saw it was a freedom, but it was unfamiliar territory, and I really struggled. I had to really work on learning how to make decisions for myself. And I'm single. I've been single for several years, and so that's everything. I have to decide everything. I had no one to go to for counsel. I didn't go. I didn't have a husband. I didn't have what the churches I was involved in. I didn't have a headship. I wasn't under the umbrella of somebody. I was under my own umbrella, and I had to apply critical thinking, which I hadn't really had to do much.
Yeah, I mean, even the term critical thinking, right? How many of us knew that term before we sort of got into this at all? Shane, how about you? Do you have any early memories of what you felt was different?
Yeah, there was a bit of like, the whole Dumbo's magic feather thing where
I actually don't. So go ahead and explain it.
So in the Disney movie, the cartoon Dumbo, he can fly, but these crows give him what they call a magic feather, and Dumbo thinks that he can only fly when he's holding the feather, and that's what gives him the confidence and everything, and he's flying. And then at the end of the movie, he loses the feather and he starts falling, and then he realizes it wasn't the feather, it was him. He had the power to fly within him the whole time. That's kind of how I felt. It was like I was always, especially with music and everything, that was a big thing where people would be like, oh, your music is such a gift from God, or listen to this. Wow, that's so great. Praise Jesus for him blessing. And it was like, no, it was me. I did that. I was the one who was sitting there with the metronome practicing for hours a day and that sort of thing. So it was a lot more like Aunt Kathy said, freeing, but it was a bit kind of a little scary at first too, because it was like, with great power comes great responsibility, right? It was you're on your own, which is both good and bad, because everything that you did, that you achieved, you earned, but at the same time you're responsible. So you're responsible for yourself. So anything that any failures, you can't blame on the devil. You can't say, oh, it was because this is happening or whatever. You have to take ownership.
I've talked to people who, and this always irritates me, who think their decisions, and sometimes in some people even their very thoughts, are not from themselves. They think it's from God. And it's just like, you poor person. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's easy for them because they feel like they don't have to think, they feel like they're not thinking, you know?
Well, yeah, totally. Because when you're in religion, um, you get your thoughts and what to think and how to think and everything from other people. It's either from a book written down or from a pastor, or from your family, and there's always an appeal to, oh well, this is what I'm supposed to believe because somebody else told me this is. And then when you leave religion, you have to look within yourself and figure out, have that come from yourself, critical
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, that God take the wheel phrase seems like such a strange thing to me. It's just like, it just seems like you're being incredibly
Irresponsible.
yeah. It's just like, you're not being an adult. It's like, God take the wheel. I'm not going to make any decisions. I'm going to let life happen and blame it all on you, or let you take the credit or give you the credit. It's just like, it's just because this happened in life. If it's good, you get the credit. If it's bad, it's your decision, not mine. So I had no choice. It's just this odd. I don't know what you call it, but it's just it's very peculiar. So, and then you have no sense of responsibility, right? If you think someone else is making all the decisions for you.
Oh, exactly. But you're held to, well, I think it depends on the denomination, but some people are held to following particular rules and things. And so it makes you feel like you have a responsibility. But your responsibility is not actually to God, it's to the people in charge, or to your family. It's not following the word particularly specifically, but what the people say, what the leaders say. And of course, that's part of the cultishness of some of the religions, is that it's following man-made rules and not
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, I'm veering too much into criticizing religion, and now, but not as enough about our life post-religion. So, but yeah, cult comes to mind for me too. I will say the one thing that I do remember, and the memory goes back, so who knows how soon it came, but I remember realizing that with deities going away, so does essentially a package of other things. So does supernatural, so does superstitions. And I remember noticing things like the concept of luck. It's like the first time I said good luck to someone, it's just like, wait a second, luck is not a thing. Luck is not a real thing. Why is there? I'm just saying this out of a social habit, karma, belief in karma. I used to sort of say things about karma, just again casually. And a very interesting one, which I didn't expect, was my fear of the dark decreased. And I wasn't particularly fearful of the dark. I mean, I used to scout and camp and things like that. But just the sense that maybe it was like a little bit of logic that, if you step outside your house, walk down the street or something, or if you're in fearful habit, you think that maybe somebody is there or something bad could happen. And then once you lose all these superstitions and this leaning on this intuitive logic, this intuition of fear of odd things or unknown things, you realize that the odds of something being there, which is minimal. I mean, not that you're going to think you can never, get mugged or some odd thing, but, the odds are very, very, very small. And I didn't expect that. That one surprised me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that has to do maybe not so much with atheism, but an application of critical thinking and skepticism, and atheism a lot of times is a pathway to that, where people, like if they say, hey, I no longer believe, now how do I build my worldview? And then oftentimes skepticism is the next step that people go to sort of, as a foundation for their beliefs and everything. And so that happened to me when I started studying critical thinking and logical fallacies and stuff in class. It was a college class, and it was kind of like a checklist. I was like, oh, I do that, I do that, I do that, I do that. It was like every new fallacy we go over, I was like, wait a minute, I do that too. And so when you start applying those to other areas in your life, you're like, I'm being irrational when I'm afraid of ghosts or the dark or that sort of thing. So I feel like that's a big change that I have now that I didn't before. Is I have a more solid foundation of figuring out how things work and if they're true or not, I guess.
How about you, Kathy? Did you have any superstitions or superstitious practices that you lost or gave up or realized you didn't need or weren't doing any good?
I think sometimes I wonder, what do I say when somebody sneezes? Because it was always, right. God bless you.
Yeah.
I do catch myself in the good luck thing, or, what do you say in situations that are, I've had a friend who's been very, very ill, and she's a non-believer. I'm a non-believer. But we're both kind of, what do we say? My heart goes out to you. I'm very concerned for you. It's so, we joke back and forth, but, I'm going to send up bunches of prayers for you, but we're, that's, we're just being silly with that.
I think this is a cultural transition. We have this habit, so we've got to, it feels awkward to us. I think a cradle atheist or a next generation cradle atheist won't have this problem. What do you say to someone when someone sneezes now?
I usually say Gesundheit or Salud.
Okay, Gesundheit. That would be good to say instead of, because I still find myself saying bless you. I want to acknowledge it because that's what I've always done for all these years, even before I became a Christian, but not knowing what to say specifically. And why do you say that anyway when somebody sneezes? It supposedly, I think I remember once reading on the history of that, and it had something with being keeping demon spirits away from you because of illness was trying to get upon you, and the sneeze was an indication of that. And so you wanted God's blessing over the person so that the illness would not take over.
I remember something similar to that.
It's been years since I read that.
I'm sure there's multiple of these stories that are similar, but the one that sticks in my head that I heard was that the sneeze is the dispelling of the demon. You've kicked it out of your body. And someone says bless you to prevent the demon from coming back in. So you got this short-term bless. So
okay.
I'm wondering, Shane, have you looked up Gesundheit to see what the translation is?
It means like good health.
Oh, okay.
Like, well, that sounds good.
So that's a nice thing.
And salud in Spanish is the same thing.
Okay.
Health. Although a lot of times they'll say Jesus if you sneeze. Just like if you sneeze, it'll be like Jesus. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but what I've noticed from studying languages is that a lot of, especially in other languages like in Spanish or Arabic or something, things like hello or goodbye are very religious. Like to say goodbye is like may God bless you or may God give you peace or something, or like. And a lot of times, they'll, if you say, how are you doing? They'll say, oh, I'm fine. Praise Jesus. Even the word goodbye comes from God be with ye.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
I feel like at some point if you say bless you, I feel like that's so kind of something that we do by rote so much that it's kind of divorced from the actual meaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to encourage habituation of religious tradition.
Mhm.
So I do not say bless you. And then frankly, it got me to thinking about why do we say something when someone sneezes anyways? And I honestly couldn't think of a really good reason. So I've kind of gotten to the point where I don't say anything. I'm not 100% comfortable with that, but that's where I'm at right now. I don't know, saying good health or something like that is probably a better, or Gesundheit. I don't know. Maybe I'm too shy and I just don't want to say anything.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Well, in some countries, they don't. Like in Japan, they don't really acknowledge a sneeze. They just kind of, unless you like sneeze a whole bunch, and then they'll ask you like, "Are you okay?" or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that sounds more normal to me in terms of it
Mhm.
making sense. So, now it's interesting what you said, Shane, because the, you know, I, the logic and the knowledge of fallacies and stuff that comes along. Now, it for us, it's fairly common, right? Because we're sort of active and activists to a degree,
Mhm.
to a large degree. So I wonder how much of that rubs off from other people. Kathy, since yours was a longer period of time, that it was a 6-year deconversion, you said. Did logic and fallacies and critical thinking come up, or did that come later with interaction with Oz?
The logical things not seeming to be logical is what first came to me. Um, Again, I have to say with prayers specifically, that if we're instructed to pray a certain way and we do everything we're supposed to do to pray that certain way and nothing happens or the result is not what you've been told it's going to do, then that's not logical. That's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really bothered me, is like, what else can I do? And then of course it puts the responsibility onto me rather than onto God. But
Mm-hmm.
God was the one who's should have been the one to bear the responsibility, but I would take it on. And that wasn't logical either, because I couldn't do any more than what I'd been instructed to do.
Do you feel more responsible, like a more responsible person now?
Oh,
Religion free
tremendously
or
more.
God free?
Yes, more responsible now than ever before, for my own personal responsibility, definitely. And I always felt, to a degree, a responsibility, but it was in the decision making avenue of not having to have 100% responsibility on myself.
Yeah.
And that's been the newest and biggest. That's I enjoy it, but yet I have a little trepidation,
Yeah.
that I can't blame anybody but me if I make a mistake, and that's part of life and living.
Yeah.
I feel very much like I'm in my 20s and learning to live.
That's an odd feeling, isn't it?
It is,
Yeah.
because there were so many years of living in the indoctrination and following the rules and doing
Yeah.
what you're told to do and behave a certain way, that once you're free of all that, it's like, I always say, it's like being a bird let out of a cage.
Yeah.
I'm no longer dependent on somebody to bring me my food and bring me my water, but the door is open and I can fly. And it's like I'm learning how to feed myself and how to,
Yeah.
where I can go, and there are no boundaries unless I make them myself.
So Shane, tell me how much bigger your world is now. I mean, what you have access to.
Yeah. There. I mean, a lot of things that I'm free to explore or learn about or get involved or interested in that were either frowned upon or forbidden or would be thought of as against God's word and everything. And like getting into and studying evolution and biology and anthropology and that kind of stuff. If I mean, I'm not an expert in any of that by any means, but it, like, before I was told, oh, we know the real truth, like just play along and get good grades so you can answer on your study so you can answer the test and get a good grade on your test, but we know what the real truth is.
Yeah.
It is that sort of thing. And I don't know, there was a lot of music, like, especially when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was really into heavy metal, and there was a lot of music that I could now listen to that I wasn't able to before, like Slayer or some of the more satanic sort of music.
I love the idea that we can we can literally investigate everything and learn everything. Not that we all have to become experts at a particular subject to know things in that subject, because we have some trust in science and for logical reasons, and the track record of its history to be able to trust it. But there's nothing that stops you from, I want to know about this subject. So there's nobody that says you can't go research this and find out and learn what the people in that field know. And it's just open to us. And it does make your world bigger, almost too big, in the sense that, although big, it's realistic that it's too big, that you can't learn everything because there's so much to learn. But I also find that exciting because you'll never run out of new things to learn or exciting things to investigate.
But also with people that socially, my world has grown a lot more too, because now I can interact with people that maybe I was told I shouldn't be interacting with, or now I have all these different friends that are, coming from all different areas and backgrounds and sexual orientations and gender identities and all that sort of thing, where that was really, like, if I, growing up in the 90s, if somebody was trans or gay or something, they'd be like, oh, like, you'd be nice to them, but in cordial and everything, but you don't want to, we are in the world, but not of the world.
Yeah. I think that's actually a mixed bag, personally, because especially if with the more recent, and I don't know, 30 years recent kind of thing, of the mega church, where social groups and social support is one of the things that religion does well. So when you leave it, you do get a smaller group, although you get a different group. And obviously we're all here trying to build a larger community. Kathy, did you go through any of that transition of feeling you left behind a chunk, or are you happier with where the social group that you have now, or the access?
I found that I was very lonely at first when I deconstructed. And really, I mean, I live in a small town, and I have 2 friends out of all the many friends I had who are still in contact with me and who love me for who I am, not for what I believe. And that's been very, very hard. I have friends online, friends I've met through Skeptic Haven and through Tang and, you know, all the social media stuff. But that's not the same as being in a group of people and having community like that, you know, the flesh and blood community. And I miss that. I really do miss that.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a place where I can really move to a bigger community physically. So I'm having to, you know, kind of settle for everything being online. And
Yeah.
I'm not pleased with that. That's why the upcoming conference is so exciting to me, is to have interaction with people. That's been a big disappointment, but I knew it was going to happen. But when it finally does happen, it's kind of, this part's not comfortable.
Yeah, that is one of our struggles. I do want to encourage everybody out there to get involved with meetup groups. I've been involved in quite a few over the years, and I've found that to be very helpful. They are of different sizes, and you know, like a lot of club kind of things, you do get sort of a larger membership than you do active people who show up to stuff. So sometimes you have to get your own I don't know, put yourself in gear to help encourage other people, or you know, like suggest something that, or just step in to help arrange things. Or I wanted to go bowling once, so it's just like, oh, let's do a bowling event. And of course, the leaders are like, great, you know, we have a hard time thinking of events to do sometimes, and if they don't have a good pattern going on. So that's one of the challenges that our community has to do better at, because that is, I think, one of the most difficult things in the transition.
Right. And it can lead to, I mean, if you're prone at all to depression, it can add to that because you're isolated. The meetup groups that I've checked into are mainly in Indianapolis, which that's a drive for me. I mean, that's an hour drive for me. And I don't drive as much as I used to anymore. So I'm just trying to face these things head on and say, okay, what can you do? I've even thought about starting a small group here. I know 2 other people who are in different phases of deconstruction, to say, what if we just get together? We don't even have to talk about anything. Let's just have a taco night or something.
I was just going to suggest that. I mean, I've had half a dozen times where people tell me stuff like that, you know, there's nobody near me kind of thing. And it's just like, start your own group. Please just start your own group. It doesn't matter if it's 2 people. There are a lot of meetup groups that are like 3 people. And, you know, I used to, I used to work evening shifts, so I had mornings off. And I used to, the early days of Starbucks, again, 63 years old, you know, see like some of the retired people that would go there, and it would be like 4 guys that would just get there every morning and sit there for a couple of hours and have their coffee and socialize and hang out with each other. And it's sometimes it's just as simple as that. And if you know, for atheists and post-religious people, you do what you want. Some are into the religion and they like to talk about the religion and how all those people over there don't really understand evolution and how bad that is. And other people are just like, you know, how's your daughter? How's your new baby or whatever? They just like to socialize in casual ways, and you know, others go to do Sunday assembly type things because they do like the sort of church type of structure. But that is, I think, part of the challenge that we have, is that we are more diverse in personalities, so we don't gather as much in that way. I want to see if there's any questions to mix this up a little bit, to bring in. What is Wes? I'm going to embarrass Wes here. I would love to find 3 witches to hang out with. I don't believe in that, but it'd be still fun to play Halloween. Yeah. Yeah. I was on a hike once up in Southern California. And we were hiking from like a horse camp, and just along a trail, and we came across a group of people that were setting up what looked to be like a Ren Fair kind of thing. There was like a line of cars, and there were people setting up booths and stuff. And we just kind of figured we would walk through it to see what it was. Turns out it was like a Wiccan event going on.
Oh,
And it was the coolest thing because they were setting up booths for like to sell each other clothing and jewelry and all this other stuff. So, and I had when I was with the Interfaith Council, there was a Wiccan guy in there, and he invited me to one of his ceremonies. And honestly, that was kind of a blast. So, very, very sweet people. Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Side story there. What else can I think of here? Fear of death.
fear
go
of
ahead.
death.
Well,
I was just thinking
make-
the structure of a week is different now. I mean, we always had Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday night, whichever was church. And, I mean, as far as I was concerned, especially the years I was a pastor's wife, you were at the door, you were there constantly, not just for the service, but before the service, after the service, days or two in between, and all of that. And that was like a structure built into your week. And then when you're no longer in that structure, it's like, oh my God, I don't have to get up at 7 o'clock every Sunday morning, or I don't have to quick cook dinner real fast and get to the church by 6:30 at a certain night or whatever, but there's freedom.
So what do you do with your Sundays now?
I usually have my coffee and I watch something educational. I love Wondrium, which is the Great Courses Network. Or what
that's
used
right.
to be
They
called
changed
Great
names.
Courses, and they changed to Wondrium. And I've done several of those. Sometimes I'll watch something on YouTube with I like Mayan Bialik. She is a
Oh yeah.
you know who I mean? And
Yeah,
she deals a
from
lot with mental health
Bang.
issues. Yeah, she was from the Big Bang, but she's a doctorate.
She's a
holds her doctorate.
neurologist. She has a
Right,
neurology
and
degree,
she's great. And I love the study of the mind. So I try to do something with, or if there's a particular book I'm reading, I will take an hour or so and read that morning. So I try to do something that's benefiting me as a person on the Sunday mornings. And I don't set an alarm, which is very nice. Yes. And sometimes I don't get up till 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's okay.
Just 10, huh?
Well, I've slept later.
How many of
but
us that don't get up until noon?
Yeah, I just can't. I can't stay up late at night, so I'm usually up earlier in the day.
But you, Shane, what are your Sundays like?
Well, Sundays are the one day of the week that my wife and I have off together. So
that's nice.
Usually we're the whole family. We're just relaxing, having a nice lazy Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because on Saturday you get all your chores done, right? Your errands and whatever. So Sunday's like an extra day.
Yeah, and I work on Saturday nights, so.
Oh. Well, so then you definitely would want to sleep in or be able to if you could. Yeah. Let's see what else have I got written down here. Nonsensical questions can be dismissed. It is amazing how much we used to believe, or we see people still believing, that it's easily tossed now, right? I mean, literally, it's hard almost to think of someone believing in life after death. That is such a obvious concept. Things live, things die. That's what death means. right? That's what the
Right.
definition of the word is. That people actually can believe that there's life after death is strange. And yet we see it, right? It was the Gallup poll that just came out. The belief in God is down, but it's still 81%. Talking snakes, talking donkeys, demons causing disease. So much of this stuff that we don't even have to bother with anymore. It's just like, yeah, unicorns don't exist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. How comfortable are you, Kathy, with not knowing answers to questions?
Oh, well, I have to dig until I get the answer.
Yeah. But what if you can't? This is your informational Kobayashi Maru. The answer is not available. If you find it,
I have anxiety if I can't get
Yeah.
an answer. I've got to know something, and
then
you
how do
have
you
to
deal?
prove it to me.
How do you deal with a question like, where did the universe come from? That we don't have the answer to. How do you deal with that psychologically?
Psychologically, I know that the answer may not be there yet, but it will happen. There will be somehow, some way, science is going to find that out. And I'm not big into science or anything, but I never have had that interest that much. But the older I get, the more I realize that there's got to be a logical answer to this whole thing in my mind. So somebody, it may not be me, but somebody's going to come up with the reality of it all and how it got started. That's what I think.
Okay, I'm gonna push you on this a little bit.
All right, go for it.
This is Kobayashi Maru. So in your lifetime, we will never know.
Right.
How do you cope with that?
I guess I have to resign to that, knowing that I'll never know. There's a lot in life I'll never know in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like that I don't have all the answers, but that's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to accept that.
What about you, Shane? What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I don't like not knowing things. I'm always trying to investigate things further, figure out the answers, and then test that answer and see if it's actually, holding up. But like when I don't know something like where the universe came from, yeah, that like I'm bothered by that, but the next step of like, well, then what? I mean, I like, too bad, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, before, when I was religious, I would probably make up something or go with what I think is the best thing I could come up with. Like, well, this sounds probably the most reasonable, so I'll go with that. But now I know, like, just because you don't know something, that doesn't mean you can just insert whatever you want as a placeholder.
Yeah.
Right.
There are times when you have to say, hey, sorry, I don't know this. Like, maybe some more information will come later, but right now I can't
Mm-hmm.
make a determination.
I think it comes to a point where we have to be willing to admit that we don't know, and that's okay. And that's hard.
You're right, and I think it's just that simple, that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That takes some dehabituation. It's some untraining of that cultish. Some higher up in the organization has the answer, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm actually pretty good with not knowing. I'm comfortable with not knowing things. I am significantly more fearful of thinking I know false things. That that is
false
really
things.
irritating to think that I might believe something that is false than not knowing at all.
Yeah.
Now
So-
that's where my personal anger was, when I realized that I believed something false for so many years. I was so angry at myself for not, because I always thought I was a pretty logical person, but you know, when you're caught up in this circular reasoning, you know, and all the schooling I had was the circular reasoning, everything was going around and round and round, and you know, I wasn't getting insights from outside, and I wasn't looking for insights from the outside until I started questioning things.
Well, for me, I was also not just angry at myself, but I was angry at everybody else because I felt like I had been lied to. And then I eventually, realized, they weren't, a lot of them weren't lying. They sincerely believed it too. They were just wrong. But, obviously some people are lying. But it's, I don't know. It's hard to, I guess, fault people if they have good intentions. But then again, at the same time, when their actions do lead to harm, you have to, like, if they're unaware and they choose to remain unaware or say, no, I'm not doing anything wrong, this is I think it's the closed-mindedness that gets me.
Right.
But it reminded me a lot of when I was Santa Claus, or like when I found out Santa wasn't real. Oh, sorry, I hope there's no kids watching. But because my parents, when I would, like, when you're questioning something and you ask someone else and then they tell you, no, Santa Claus is real. Like, you still hear that sleigh bell, don't you? Of course you hear it. So he's still real. You just got to keep believing. And that's what made me upset when I found out Santa Claus wasn't real. It was because I sincerely came to you guys and was like, hey, let me, I'm having doubts about this. Is this true? And then they actually did lie to me and say, no, of course this is true. So that happens a lot when you're deconstructing or when you're questioning things.
Right.
When you have questions and you bring it to the people who you normally get your information from, they'll kind of bat your questions down or try to redirect you away from that question or so it's hard to find your way out when everybody is telling you, trying to get you to stay back in.
Right.
So I'm gonna follow down this Santa lane here, because this for me is probably my most recent shift. That I am no longer in favor of telling kids Santa exists. It's a bad precedent. I mean, for a long while, I didn't really think about it. It was just like, oh, it's just a fun little game. And I remember for my own kids at the time thinking, I want them at some point in their life to believe in something fanciful. And it makes no sense that I would want that, because it's like you're teaching kids to believe in things because they're told to believe it, you know? So I think it's a bad precedent. I now would like to see, if I was doing it again, raising kids again, I think Santa is fun, so I don't want to take that away. So I talk to the kids about, let's pretend there's this guy who's very nice and comes down the chimney and gives presents, and I'll try to keep all the good stuff, but basically literally just pretend with them and play pretend. What are you doing on have you thought about Santa, Kathy, later for kids and grandkids? What do you think about this now?
I was pretty fortunate with my daughters. They were afraid of Santa, and
really?
he became the Christmas clown. And every year he was just a fun and funny part of Christmas. And it wasn't, you better behave because Santa's watching. I don't remember ever having to say that. And my youngest grandson kind of believed, he did believe for a good while. The older one figured it out right away. He's pretty smart. And I think he was 4 when he knew it wasn't real. But the younger one wanted the fantasy, and we just kind of let him have the fantasy and wink
would
at each
you-
other. I
Would
wouldn't.
you do that again now?
No, I don't think I would. I would just say he was the fun part. He was a fun part of Christmas, and do like I did with his mom, that he's the Christmas clown, or the the fun guy at Christmas, but he's not really the one who brings you presents, and
Right.
he's not
Well, I mean,
watching you.
We do have the actual. I think we have the actual. I don't know how accurate it is. Maybe it's a Camelot kind of thing. The actual history of the Saint Nicholas,
Right.
basically kind person kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Well,
he
you
was.
know,
have
why
We
his
have.
not?
bones. Yeah.
I think we have more evidence for him than anything for Christ.
Yeah. No, actually, I remember Biddy and Pat did that on Biddy Buddha's channel.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh,
That
did they?
basically people, we know we have his bones because people stole them like two separate
Yeah.
times. You know, people were like, "Oh, this is Saint Nicholas. This is we need to take his bones and bring them back to our church in Italy or something." And they did that like twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you, Shane? What do you do? What's your position on Santa these days? Teaching
Well,
Santa.
I like the way my wife was raised because she's a cradle atheist and she was always raised secular. And she always, like, her parents always kind of did the Santa thing, but she always knew it was just her parents. Like, she never really thought like, hey, this is actually real. But she still had a lot of fun, and she still enjoyed the whole, Santa and festivities and Christmas and everything. And what I think is when parents teach their kids that Santa is real, a lot of times they think that they're doing it for the kids. They're saying like, oh, this is for them, and they're gonna make it so enjoyable. But really, they're doing it for the parents, because the parents are, they think like, oh, look how adorable it is that this kid believes Santa. I want him, I feel like it's more of that thing, and kids can still have just as much fun with Christmas, even though they know that it's not actually a real thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got to. It's just like, if you take away the pretend to believe thing, it really can be just as much fun. You can have all those elements. You just play the game with them. Yeah. I mean, I've got a 6-year-old here that I'm helping to babysit, and he was opening the garage door literally, and he was like pretending to put a code. It's just a press the button thing, right? He's just pretending to put a code, and he told me, "Don't shut the garage door because I'm gonna play code." And he went up there and he pretended to press 6 buttons. So you just play with them. Let's play together. Let's pretend together. It's fun, and you can teach kindness and giving and all this stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely on the anti-Santa teaching wagon now.
I think we need to let our kids have a fantasy world, maybe, but not to where we're saying it's a real world, and that can be the fun part. I mean, my gosh, how many great authors are there, that have written such wonderful fantasies and even movies. I mean, so much that's fantasized, but we know it's not real. But it's great to let our imaginations go, and that's what I think we need to really do with our children and grandchildren is, get them away from the grandma's going to rant, but get them away from the phones and all that kind of stuff, and just use your imagination, and you'll be surprised where you can go, what you can do. Yeah,
we've got a book over here about dragons who eat tacos, and I think that's great. I've got a question here from Crabby Old Lady. What was the hardest belief or comfortable explanation to let go of when you transitioned from being religious to secular? What did you have to let go of that was tough?
So
hold on, I've got to mute.
One thing that I was always told through Christianity, that like the only value that I have comes from God, and that, you know, he is the only reason why, you know, you are worthy of anything, or you're deserving of everything because of his mercy and his, you know, grace. And without him, we are these fallen, broken, evil sinners and everything. So when I transitioned out of religion, I had this sense of I struggled, and I kind of still do, with self-worth and
Mhm.
self-esteem. And when I was religious, I had that whole, oh well, but God's, you know, God's got my back sort of thing to fall on. So I think maybe that was probably the hardest to let go of, is to think that someone's always, you know, got my back and watching out for me,
Yeah, that makes
and giving
sense.
me value and love and comfort.
What about you, Kathy? I know you had made that same point before, but is anything different that was hard for you to let go of,
I
that
do.
you enjoyed holding on to before then?
Just that I have to agree with Shane that my worth and value was in him. In him we live and move and have our being. And you know, it's because of him, and not anything that I did was not me doing it. It was, you know, him doing it through me. And um, I really struggled with having that sense of value, having that sense of, no, I am worth something. I had to make
Mhm.
up. I have a great therapist, and we made up flashcards for me. That's that, you know, the 4x6 cards, and I put a ring through them, and I could flip through them every day. That I am valuable. I am worth something. I am pursuing a purpose. I am. I mean, I had to, because I was so distraught when I realized that it was nothing but me. And
Yeah,
I mean, it was a great tool, and I've really encouraged other people to use it. And a lot of people that are former Christians don't like it that you use those first two words, I am, but I am. I am strong. I am
Mhm.
capable. I am, you
yeah,
know, it's me, this flesh and bones. This is where it comes from, not
yeah.
some higher power.
And I am means you, the person, not I am the God is been
Exactly.
referenced in the
Yes.
Bible. So
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, like,
Exactly.
imagine religion is trying to take over that, like, I am. No, that means God now. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
trying to take over your identity almost.
yeah.
I think for me, probably what comes to mind is related to death. Um, there used to be some sort of, I don't know if relief is the right word, but some sort of expectation that you know, none of us are perfect, and I knew I wasn't a perfect person. So at the time that being raised Catholic, I believed in purgatory. So I figured, you know, I'll do my years in purgatory, and and then things will be fine after that, kind of a thing. So I had
Yeah.
to let go of that. Um, you know, I think so. I think that, well, for me, the fear of death is gone. But that's, we're on a different subject now. So let's hit that before we wrap up here. So I think we started and evaded that one. So Kathy, what about you for fear of death? Where are you sitting with that right now?
I'm not afraid. I've never been afraid to die. I know that's part of being a human being, is we live and then we die. I just want to try and live my life to the best degree I can while I'm still on this earth. And I feel like I've got a lot of years to make up for. You know, I got a
Yeah,
lot of living and learning to do that I missed out on. So,
and
but no, I'm not afraid to die. And I've got my plans already taken care of, and my cremation, everything's done.
yeah,
You know, scatter
well,
my dust to the four winds of the earth.
recycling, right?
Yes, exactly.
What about you, Shane?
Um, I think my fear has gone down a lot since deconverting or deconstructing. I don't really. I mean, I feel like at this point I'm like, well, I'm not gonna be around to experience death, so I'm not gonna be sad that I'm not alive anymore, you know, because I won't be feeling anything. I feel like that's how it is, you know, like when I was religious, I was always like, oh, you know, you're always under the constant fear of like, maybe I'm going to hell, like maybe I'm not, you know, I hope
Yeah.
I'm. There's always like, it's like, you know, in a toxic work environment when you're always like, oh, I'm one move away from getting fired or something like that. But now I don't have that stress, and I feel like, you know, death is just, I don't know. Like, I hope it doesn't come for a while, but I'm
Yeah.
not afraid
Yeah.
of it.
I think of death. I think of life in an analogy of a roller coaster. Actually, this has been with me a long time. I don't know where it came from, but so you know, you get your ups and downs. You get your fun parts of it, the enjoyable things. But in the end, you know, a ride is only so long, and when your turn is done, you're done. So, and you know it's coming. You enjoy the ride, and when the end is there, you know you've had your turn. So it just
That's a
it
good
will
way to look
happen.
at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to live forever, you know.
I would still choose to if I could, and I would definitely, knowing that I would regret that. In the long
I'd
run.
probably
But I
want to
don't-
live like a long time and be able to choose to die if I could, you know.
Well,
But
that's an easy out. Yeah, that's an easy one.
but I don't think. I mean, like, you know, the eternal afterlife and the soul in heaven. Heaven sounds really boring and terrible. It actually sounds more like hell, you know, sitting there like praising God, worshiping all the time, not
No,
thinking
that would
about
not be.
your, you know, yeah.
Yeah. Now you're back to the cult. It's not about you. It's about them and the organization and you know serving the deity. No, that's not an eternal life I'd want to live. Kathy, I'll give you the final words here.
Well, this has been an interesting discussion. Things I haven't really thought through. We just go through the process of deconstructing and don't realize how many different areas of our lives it touches. And I enjoyed listening to you and Shane, you know, just sharing about how you've been touched. I still have Christianese. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be, I mean, I had 50 years of it, guys. So it's going to take me a little while to get rid of it. God bless y'all.
Thank you so much. We won't take it as we won't take it literally. Take it as you intended. Well, we all do want to give a shout out here to Oz, who we've been all very familiar with, and obviously related to him. So, but just you know, we enjoy what they do over at Tang, and they've got a conference this weekend. I want to give a shout out to. Even I know a lot of you are watching this after the fact, and if that's the case, then see if this is our 10th annual. That would be cool to be looking back at the 10th annual Better Convention. So this is put on by the Tang Group. It is this weekend, the 25th and 26th in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Please check it out. It's what Wes has on screen now, honestly, is insufficient. They're up to 14 guests or something like that. It is really it's about the event of the decade almost. I want to say, probably without too much exaggeration, if only partially because we have so much pent up desire post COVID here. So
definitely.
Yeah, so please check it out, and if you and all can find a way to get yourself there, at least check out the website jesusisamyth.com and consider buying a ticket and showing up at the Better Convention. If you really can't, then you do have the option, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kathy, of getting a live feed. You do that by subscribing to his YouTube channel, and it's not just the like, it's the you have to become a
Membership.
member. The membership.
Membership, right?
Right.
It's for all members and Patreon
Mhm.
Okay.
supporters.
It's a Patreon.
And it's
supporters,
just
too.
portions of it. It's not going to be the whole thing
Yeah. So
during the live feed. And then they've asked Pasta Mike's filming it all, and he's going to be releasing something in 3 to 4 weeks
okay.
to give everybody a flavor of what happened. And I wanted to mention that if there's anybody who has felt that they have been shunned by their family because of making their decision to be an atheist, that I'm going to be there to give out mom hugs.
Oh,
And
that's
also
neat.
for if there's someone there also in the LGBT community, I know what that's like to be not in that community, but I know that a hug is needed sometimes. And I just wanted to do my part to let everybody know that they are worth a lot.
That's nice. That man, and I mean
that's
that
great.
sincerely. That is nice, and that's one of the things about you could do at the meetups. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, people need a weekly hug, get together
Yeah.
and give hugs.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you both for doing this.
thank you.
Of course, do want to
Yes,
give
thank
out
you.
our shout outs to our own patrons. Let me get over to it real quick to make sure I get it. We have Kathy, we've got Cindy Plaza, we've got Bryce, Jena, Deborah, Grace, Sunny Shell, and Aaron. And like and subscribe this show. Like and subscribe. Like this show, this episode. Subscribe to the channel so we can keep doing this. Consider supporting us on Patreon also. And we'll see you next week on Secular Soapbox. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack. And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need. What you need. We're broken, it's tragic. We're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic. Believe you could have it. And I know of sadness, the anxious and panic, the infinite vastness of all that